Okay, here we go on Venezuela. And now they're calling it the mother of all marches. Right after the United States dropped the bomb, the mother of all bombs. Well, Russia made the father of all bombs. Okay, so what's going to be next? The father of all march? And these people coming up with weird names. But I do see a long summer ahead. And it's going to be involving riots everywhere. We're going to have the Venezuela fights and marches and riots and whatever you have not, unless someone steps in, which I don't think the United States will step in, because it doesn't want to see that it's trying to take over the country. If we get involved, okay, first of all, we can overthrow the government and take them out. That's easy. But the thing is, once you take out of the government, there has to be a new government brought in. Now, we did this before. We put in a government in Iraq. It didn't work. It fell apart 3 times. 3 times we tried to put in a government for Iraq, where there was Shiites and Sunnis and everybody gets along type thing. It didn't work. The Shiites took over. Now the Sunnis are all over the country trying to find a country of their own. So, what is there to do? If the United States does get in, they need to get out real quick. But if the United States do get in, I do know that some people are going to want to try to put in a Congress and all this other stuff. That's where the problem's going to be. If something goes wrong, they're going to blame the United States for putting this government together. So, is there a solution? I really don't see it unless the people take out the dictator. The people's got to take him out. I don't want to tell too many people what to do or anything. I'm not a Democrat. But we have to let Venezuela do what Venezuela's got to do. And I know it's going to sound bad doing that. But does anybody remember back in World War II when the people got hold of the government there and hung them off a pole or something? I think that's what's going to happen. I think these people are going to get hold of the government and string them up. But then again, our government might get involved. I don't know. We do have a lot of people from Venezuela that's in the United States. They're saying for the United States to interact. Like I said, it's going to be hard to do because they're going to accuse us of something if something goes wrong. We always get accused when something goes wrong. It's like right now. The dictator is already saying that the United States is behind it. Well, we know who's behind it. George Soros. He's behind everything. He's behind the one in the United States, the riots that happens at Berkeley. George Soros. So, let's go to some of these videos. You can see what's going on. They don't look like they're organized, really. So, let's see what they got in these videos.
Y llevan los guardias nacionales. Mierda, que mucho va a correr los guardias. Mira la vaina. Está grabando, ¿no?
Sí.
Mira, mira, mira. Mira la vaina.
Esto es Venezuela, señores, represión, represión. Aquí están, cagados, cagados, cagados. Mira, mira, mira.
¡Están tirando a la gente!
Aquí está.
¡Perdigón, Altavista, Puerto Real, 19 de abril!
Aquí está, míralo, ve. Aquí está, míralo, 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 míralo cómo retroceden. Somos más que ellos. Somos más que ellos. Ve cómo retroceden, ve cómo retroceden. Ve cómo retroceden, porque son unos cagones. Ve cómo retroceden. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? Mamá huevo, ¿qué pasó, pues? ¿Qué pasó? Mamá huevo, cagones, mierda, maldito. Hola, mamá huevo.
Deadly there, President Maduro has given guns to his street thug supporters. He says the time for combat has arrived. Come in, Michelle Malkin, author of Sold Out. First of all, Michelle, I want to know, where's Sean Penn in all of this? He's a big supporter of the socialist revolution. Where is he?
Yeah, great question, Stuart. The celebrity fan club for socialist Venezuela has been eerily quiet, silent. All I hear is crickets lately as these protests have escalated over the last several weeks. And usually the progressive left loves a protest. I mean, they gravitate to them like moths to a flame. But there haven't been any hashtags celebrating the resistance movement in Venezuela, and Sean Penn and all of the other actors and actresses who've kissed the ring of Hugo Chavez when he was alive and have said nothing as Nicolas Maduro has cracked down on his own people are nowhere to be found. Well, we need to put out an all-points bulletin alert for these people.
So what should we do? We are the United States of America, our neighbor, and they are fairly close neighbors, utterly collapsing. What should we do? I mean, should we send the Marines in? Should we send food to help them? Or should we just say, look, fix it. This is your problem. You fix it. What should we do?
Another good question, Stuart. I certainly am not one to crusade for America being the world's policeman, but there are things that we can do from a position of moral authority to make our opposition to this brutality clear. We had Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, yesterday asked about this, express his concern about the constitutional violations of Nicolas Maduro. Of course, we had GM have its plant seized just this week. I'm surprised that they hung on as long as they did. Since 2013, there have been, I think, 8 multinational companies that have withdrawn from the country. It'll be interesting to see if President Trump will make a statement about this, especially since over the last several weeks, Rex Tillerson has signaled that wherever there is injustice, America will be there.
Yeah, I'd love to see that some politicians in America label themselves socialists. Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist. I wonder if they'll drop that word, socialist, from their nomenclature, so to speak. I just wonder how the far left in America is ultimately going to react to the collapse of this socialist dictatorship. I haven't a clue how what's going to happen here.
Yes, and that is a very good question about the ideological accountability that these outright explicit socialists like Bernie Sanders should be held to. There have been a half dozen deaths over the last several weeks. A university student was murdered as a result of these protests. And yet there is Bernie Sanders, who has criticized the American economic system. I don't know if you remember this, Stuart, but during the campaign, he complained that our problem is that we had too many choices on our store shelves. Do you remember this? He said that there were 23 different kinds of deodorant and too many different kinds of sneakers. This was the problem. And yet here in Venezuela, you've got starving, desperate people who can't get toilet paper, for whom the daily struggle for subsistence is brutal, and there's absolute silence in the halls of Congress.
Well said, Michelle Malkin, author of Sold Out. Thanks for joining us, Michelle. We'll see you again real soon, I'm sure. Thank you.
The demonstrators arrived in their thousands for what they called the mother of all protests. They called for new elections and the release of opposition politicians. The opposition blames President Nicolas Maduro and his predecessor, the late Hugo Chavez, for the country's serious economic crisis. Many Venezuelans say the country is on the verge of collapse.
I think we'll reach victory with this protest. This is the second independence of Venezuela. This is the day we have been waiting for, longing for.
The confrontation quickly triggered conflict with security forces. In Caracas, police fired tear gas and rubber bullets at demonstrators who were attempted to converge on the office of the state ombudsman. And the violence wasn't restricted to the capital. This was the scene in San Cristobal, in the west of the country, where protesters also clashed with riot police. But the president remained defiant. Speaking at a rally of his supporters, he accused the opposition of plotting a coup, and the protesters of attacking the police and looting shops.
We have captured more than 30 hooded people, violent terrorists. We have caught more than 30 today, fully identified.
Venezuela, an oil-rich country, seems to be locked in a political stalemate while its economy collapses and violence flares up again.